And good evening. This Monday is a historic day for the island nation of Cuba as its embassy has been officially reopened in the United States. Now, during a ceremony held in Washington, D.C., the Cuban flag was hoisted over the Caribbean country's embassy in the U.S. Capitol. The opening marks a new chapter in relations following statements made by U.S. President Barack Obama and Cuban President Raul Castro declaring both nations' willingness to begin formalizing diplomatic ties back in December. The historic shift is being greeted with excitement by both residents of the United States and Cuba.
We have made it here today thanks to the firm and wise leadership of Fidel Castro Ruz, the historic leader of the Cuban Revolution, whose ideas we will always revere with loyalty. We now recall his presence in this city in April of 1959 with the purpose of promoting firm bilateral relations, as well as the sincere tribute he paid to Lincoln and Washington. The purposes that brought him to this country on such an early time are the same that have been pursued throughout these decades and coincide exactly with the ones that we pursue today.
Beginning today, U.S. diplomats in Havana will have the ability to engage more broadly across the island of Cuba with the Cuban government, Cuban civil society, and even ordinary Cuban citizens. We look forward to collaborating with the Cuban government on issues of common interest, including counterterrorism and disaster response, and we are confident that the best way to advance universal values like freedom of speech and assembly is through more engagement with the Cuban people.
And as that flag was installed there, a large crowd cheered and shouted, quote, "Fidel, Fidel," and "Viva Raul." The move has mostly been hailed by Cubans who hope to see an easing of tough economic conditions, but are also demanding the lifting of the economic blockade and the returning of Guantanamo Bay to Cuba.
Definitely very excited to meet a lot of the dignitaries and people that are representing Cuba.
It's a really good thing for the relations between the two countries. It's been 60 plus years of no talking, no relations, and it hasn't really gone anywhere. So with opening up, it's going to at least begin a discourse, and it's going to be interesting and exciting to see where it goes from there.
For us, this is significant. It's important. I think it's a decisive step towards normalizing relations. In other words, as Cubans, we celebrate this. And we are waiting to see what could happen from this point on. We are optimistic it will be things that are feasible for the Cuban people and the people of the United States.
This is a great start, but we still have to lift the trade embargo. We have to lift the travel restrictions that restrict our right as American citizens to travel to Cuba, and we have to give the base. This is a great start, but we still have to lift the trade.
At the press conference, the U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry said that his country has no intention of altering the lease on Guantanamo Bay.
At this time, there is no discussion and no intention on our part at this moment to alter the existing lease treaty or other arrangements with respect to the naval station. But we understand that Cuba has strong feelings about it, and I can't tell you what the future will bring, but for the moment, that is not part of the discussion on our side.
And we take a look now at how we arrived at this historic opening of embassies. On December 17, 2014, Presidents Barack Obama and Raul Castro announced the partial reestablishment of diplomatic relations. During his address, President Obama admitted that the U.S.'s policy of attempting to isolate Cuba had failed. Then on January 22, 2015, ex-U.S. Assistant Secretary of State for Western Hemisphere Affairs, Roberta Jacobson, meets in Havana with Cuba's General Director for the United States, Josefina Vidal, to negotiate the opening of embassies. Then we go to May 29, 2015. Cuba is taken off the U.S. list of state sponsors of terrorism as a prerequisite of formalizing relations. And then finally, since just after midnight today, July 20th, both Cuba and the United States have officially opened embassies in each other's capitals. Nonetheless, Cuba continues to insist relations cannot be completely normalized while the U.S. economic blockade on Cuba remains in place.